Something's still following me from that winter trip. I don't usually post things like this. I don't even use Reddit that much, except to scroll through memes or creepy stories when I can't sleep. But lately, I've been waking up between 3 and 4 in the morning, heart pounding, absolutely certain that someone's standing outside my window. I tell myself it's anxiety, a dream. Maybe my imagination is replaying old memories I still don't understand. But then I hear the crunch of snow outside, slow, deliberate, and I remember that night last winter near Lake Superior. So yeah, maybe writing it out will help. Maybe it'll stop the whispers. This all started last December. My cousin Nate called me out of nowhere with what he thought was a great idea. "Let's get away for a weekend," he said. "No phones, no internet, no stress. Just the cabin, the woods, and a few beers." The cabin was his dad's old hunting place, built back in the late 80s, tucked deep into the northern woods near Lake Superior. It hadn't been used in years. The last time someone had stayed there, according to Nate, was probably before we were even born. I wasn't exactly thrilled about the idea. It was midwinter, the highways were icy, and a new snowstorm was supposed to roll in that weekend. But Nate was going through a bad breakup and had that hollow, restless tone in his voice that told me he needed the distraction. Besides, he was my cousin, we grew up together. I figured a few quiet days in the woods might actually be good for both of us. We packed light, just food, beer, a few sleeping bags, and some gas for the generator. The drive took almost 7 hours, and the last stretch was brutal. The paved road gave way to a narrow dirt path lined with towering pine and birch. The snow had been plowed at some point, but enough had fallen since then that it was hard to tell where the road ended and the woods began. Every now and then, something moved in the darkness beyond the headlights. A deer, maybe, or branches swaying in the wind. But the way the shadows shifted made my skin prickle. When we finally pulled up to the cabin, it was nearly 9 at night. The place sat in a small clearing surrounded by forest, half buried in snow. No tire tracks, no footprints, just a smooth, untouched blanket of white. The cabin itself looked wrong somehow, like it was leaning even though it wasn't. The windows were frosted over, and the porch was nearly buried. Nate killed the engine and grinned. Home sweet home. When we opened the door, the air inside was colder than outside. It smelled like damp wood and dust, that particular scent old buildings have when they've been closed off too long. We got the generator running after a few tries. The lights flickered on, yellow, dim, but enough. Nate cracked a beer and started joking about us being mountain men now. I laughed, mostly to shake off the weird tension that hung in the air. We made soup on the propane stove, played cards, and talked until about midnight. By then, the storm had started. Thick flakes battered the windows, and wind howled through cracks in the walls. I fell asleep to the sound of the generator humming faintly outside. I don't know what time it was when I woke up. The generator had gone silent. At first, I thought that's what had woken me. But then I realized it was something else. The silence. The kind that feels heavy, pressing down on you. No wind, no creaking wood, no movement, just nothing. The hairs on my arms stood up before I even knew why. Something deep in my gut screamed that I shouldn't move, that something was wrong. But the temperature was dropping fast, so I forced myself to grab a flashlight and stepped outside to restart the generator. The snow came up to my shins. My breath fogged in the beam of light. The generator was half buried, its switch frozen solid. As I crouched down to clear it off, my flashlight caught something in the snow. Footprints, barefoot. They circled the cabin once, then vanished into the trees. The shape was human, but off. The toes were long, the arches too high, and the stride uneven, like the person had been dragging one leg. I followed them halfway around the cabin before the beam of my flashlight flickered, and I froze. The prints didn't start anywhere. There were no incoming tracks. They just appeared from nowhere, walked around the house, and disappeared again. When I woke Nate up, he thought I was joking until he saw them. He crouched to inspect the tracks, muttering something about frostbite and hallucinations, but I could see the fear creeping into his eyes. The snow around the prints melted slightly, as if something warm or alive had made them recently. We locked the doors, dragged a few pieces of furniture in front of the entrance, and sat in silence for the rest of the night. Neither of us slept. Morning came, but the light didn't make things better. The air outside felt wrong, heavy like breathing through wet cloth. There was a smell, too metallic, but with a rotting sweetness that clung to the back of your throat. We decided to leave early. Neither of us said why. It was just understood. When we got outside, Nate swore under his breath. The truck wouldn't start. Not only that, the battery was gone. Not dead, gone. The hood was closed, the latch still locked. No damage, no footprints. Just 2 drag marks in the snow leading away from the truck toward the tree line. Nate grabbed a hatchet from the shed. "I'm gonna follow it," he said. "Don't," I told him. "Whatever it is, it's not worth it." He didn't listen. Nate was stubborn like that. He said it was probably some idiot trying to mess with us, maybe a thief from one of the nearby cabins. Then he disappeared into the trees. I waited 20 minutes before I went after him. There were new prints now, his mixed with the long, uneven ones. The deeper I went, the darker it got. The trees blocked most of the sunlight, and everything felt muted, like sound didn't travel right. That smell came back, stronger this time, and then I saw it. Part of Nate's flannel sleeve was hanging from a branch, torn clean off. Below it, the snow was disturbed, dark and slick. Couldn't move. My body refused. Then I heard my name, soft at first, then clearer. It was Nate's voice, but it didn't sound right. The tone was off, too slow, too calm, and it wasn't coming from anywhere. It was like it was inside my head. "Come here," it said. I found it. Something shifted between the trees. It was tall, too tall, hunched but still looming higher than any person should. Its skin looked stretched, pale enough that the veins showed blue underneath. Its face was wrong. The mouth was too wide, the jaw too long. And when it spoke again, in Nate's voice, the words came out broken, like someone learning how to shape sounds for the first time. "Come here." I ran. I don't remember the sprint back, only the panic. The sound of cracking branches behind me. The way the air seemed to pulse with movement that never quite reached me. When I reached the clearing, the cabin looked smaller, sunken. I didn't stop. I kept running until I hit the road, a narrow strip of gray through the white woods, and didn't stop until I saw pavement. A truck driver found me about an hour later, walking in the snow. He said I looked half frozen. I told him my cousin was still at the cabin. He called the sheriff's office, but they couldn't get through until the storm cleared. They sent a search team 2 days later. They found the cabin. They found the truck. They found Nate's phone, half buried about a mile from the property. But they didn't find Nate. The prints I'd seen? Gone. The snow had melted slightly and refrozen. No tracks, no signs of struggle. They told me it was probably a wild animal. I nodded and said nothing. That was 8 months ago. Since then, I've moved 3 times. Each place farther south. Smaller apartments, closer neighbors, brighter lights. I started leaving the TV on at night, static humming softly until morning. For a while, it helped. But 2 weeks ago, the static started to break. Faint whispers underneath, like someone talking just below hearing range. 3 nights ago, I woke up at exactly 3:47 a.m. My apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. I don't know why, but I turned toward the window. There was frost on the glass, just a thin layer. But through it, I could see a shape standing at the edge of the parking lot. Tall, still. At first, I thought it was a light post or tree shadow. But then it tilted its head, slow, deliberate, like it was listening. I stayed frozen until the sun came up. Yesterday morning, I found footprints in the snow outside my window, barefoot, human-shaped, and just slightly too long. The weird part, the snow around them wasn't disturbed, like whatever made them hadn't walked there. It had just appeared. I told myself I'd call someone, the police, a therapist, anyone. But when I sat down to make the call, the TV flickered on by itself. Static. And then, underneath it, faint but clear, a voice whispered my name. Nate's voice. I don't know if this is supernatural or just in my head. Maybe grief does strange things to the mind. Maybe isolation rewires you. But the sound I heard that night in the woods, it's the same one that's been following me for months. And tonight, As I'm typing this, I keep glancing at the window. The frost is back, and outside there's a shape tall, patient, waiting. I think it finally found me again. If you ever go near Lake Superior, and someone offers you a quiet weekend in a forgotten cabin, please, for the love of God, say no. Subscribe for more stories like this and let me know about your thoughts in the comments section.